Hello, I'm the Bunny Man.
And I'm Crazy Susie.
And we are in the Eyes of Terror.
I'm pretty sure we are.
Are we?
I think so.
I thought I was another podcast. Alright, so it is Halloween. Halloween has come upon us once again. The veil has thinned. The spirits have returned to the earth.
All Hallows Eve, actually.
Well, by the time this is released, it'll be Halloween. So all I said is true. Ooh. Okay, so
it's... to be a smarty pants.
I have to be. Because my pants are smart, like my smart water.
What smart water?
Exactly. The one I threw away. I cleaned off the table.
That was mine.
Well, aren't you the smarty pants?
Mm-hmm.
Alright. So we are reviewing Trick or Treats 1982. It can be found on Tubi TV. It's 1 hour and 31 minutes. And, you want to do what are we drinking?
It's rated R.
It's rated R. I forgot about it. Yep, it's...
Please always view the films before you allow your small children to watch them.
Always and forever, weirdly enough. Alright, so you want to do what are we drinking?
What are you drinking?
What are you drinking?
Dr. Pepper!
23 different flavors in one can. Alright. I am drinking a Hope and Faith by the Black Abbey Brewing Company out in Nashville, Tennessee. It is a barrel-aged Belgian-style strong ale, which is ran in a limited edition. I was out there not that long ago. It is a 12 fluid ounce can, and it's 8% by volume. And then on the back, it says, banana and clove aroma gives away to vanilla and caramel. Dark in color, flavors of plum and raisin finish with oak and a delicate sweetness. This is a Belgian-style strong ale aged in oak barrels for your enjoyment. Cheers. Even if you knew the world would end tomorrow, I would still plant an apple tree today. Martin Luther. So, you want to give it a smell? What does the nose notice?
It smells like raisins. Kind of reminds me of prunes.
Yeah.
Prunish.
But did you pick up on the slight oak?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, there is a...
But prunes are dried plums, and didn't it say something about plums?
Yeah, it has a plum... So, I mean, the first sort of like, it is a plummy, sort of raisiny, then it does give to oak, and then you can taste the vanilla and you can taste the caramel. Everything they say on it is true. I mean, it's not like they're falsifying information.
What about banana?
I don't taste the banana.
All of those other flavors are pretty strong.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you hit it right in the front of your tongue, you can taste a slight banana. So, yeah, I can see the banana. Yeah, a little bit, but unfortunately it takes everything else takes over. Mm-hmm. Especially that oak finish.
Yeah, all those other flavors are very strong.
So I do highly suggest if you have it, if you can find it in your region, because I know that they have a very select sort of outreach right now. Mm-hmm. But if you're ever in the Nashville area, I would definitely check out that brewery. And of course, we're not sponsored by them or anything like that, so I wish we were, but hey.
No booze for us unless we pay for it.
Yep.
What can you do? This film gets a 4 out of 10 on IMDb, and I will let you go over all the names because I do that all the time, and I'm going to share some of the...
You have to write in such a bright pen color.
Well, it's red.
Yay.
You could read some of this.
No, that makes my eyes hurt. I like my black pens, thank you. So again, this movie is Trick or Treats, 1982. It's 91 minutes. It's in the horror genre. It's found on Tubi TV. The 91 minutes translates into 1 hour and 31 minutes. Just something that I'm not good at math. So the director is Gary Graver. The writer is Gary Graver. And then the cast is Jacqueline Garox, who plays Linda. Peter Jason, who plays Malcolm O'Keefe. Chris Graver plays Christopher O'Keefe. David Carradine plays Richard Adams. Carrie Snodgrass plays Joan. Stephen Railsback plays Brett. Jillian Kessner plays Andrea. Mm-hmm. Don Pastorni plays First Attendant. Tim Rosovich plays the second attendant. Paul Braithel plays Bum. Gene Clark plays Bert. John Blythe
Barrymore, yeah.
plays Mad Doctor. And many, many more at imbd.com. This movie was released October 29th of 1982. It was filmed in Los Angeles, California, and the budget was estimated $55,000 USD. The synopsis is: a babysitter is stuck working over a young brat on Halloween night who keeps playing vicious pranks on her. To add to her troubles, the boy's deranged father has escaped from an asylum and is planning on making a visit. And right now, Luna is playing Trick or Treat on my lap.
She wants a cookie. You want the cookie?
Alright. So we enter the movie on some credits, which is a soothing melody, and just orange text on a black screen. Then we open on an expensive home with two people enjoying breakfast, and the man is reading a newspaper. The woman asks...
They're on their back patio by the pool.
Yes. The woman asks, when will he be home that night? Then we hear a knock on the door. She rushes to the door.
Oh, she tells him... I find this strange because she's still in her dressing robes. Like, she's in her nightgown and a robe. He's in his suit like he's ready for work. They both have breakfast sitting in front of them, and neither of them are touching it. Who lets their eggs go cold? That's just disgusting.
Weird people.
Anyway.
Mentally insane people who like cold eggs.
Yeah, they have plates in front of them, but neither seem interested. The wife asks questions about when he's coming home that day. He continues to read his paper. The doorbell rings. He seems unamused. She says, "No, don't worry about it. Read your paper. I'll get it." She answers the door. Two men in white who say they are here for Mr. There will be papers. She says and that's all she gets out before they basically come into the house.
Because they're coming to take me away, ho ho. They're coming to take me away, hee hee. To the land that is nice and free.
Yeah. They go up to the gentleman outside and say, "Malcolm, come with us."
Because they're coming to take you away, ho ho. They're coming to take you away, hee hee.
He says, "Joan, who are they?" And he puts up a fight, buddy. Ooh-wee.
No, it sort of turns into like a Benny Hill skit. Like all that is missing is just it's not fast forwarding and playing the Benny Hill music.
Yeah.
But he's basically trying to run up a tree in a suit. They're trying to run after him up the tree. He decides that that's not working, so he goes around the deck of the pool, dives into the pool because no one's going to get me when I'm in water. And then they dive in after him, which white suits are not sexy on men.
Well, it's not white suits that they're in. It's...
No, a wet white suit contest is not very nice to these guys.
Mm-mm. It's a little bit heavier than linen, what they're wearing. And
you can see pretty much everything at this point on them.
It wasn't thought through. That part was just not thought through. And then when they're in the pool, one guy tells the other guy, "Get the handcuffs." I'm like, they're going to handcuff the dude in the pool? This isn't safe.
No, but they decided that they were going to handcuff his feet.
They shackled him, yeah.
Yeah, they shackled him, yeah. You know, wet t-shirt contests are sexy on women. You know, wet white pants on men, not so much.
No.
That's why that's not a contest.
No, it's not good.
You know, it's like Hooters is good, Planet Wiener, not so good.
Yeah, no. They finally get him shackled. They get him out of the pool. They get him into the straitjacket. All the while, he's screaming for Joan. Yep. And Joan's just standing there like, "I got you. They're going to take you away."
Haha, hee hee, to the funny farm. We're all the land is free.
Yeah. So they finally get him suited up and shackled up and drag him out of there. He leaves and Joan is standing there with a big smile on her face. Mm-hmm. So the next scene, which I find utterly... not really ridiculous because I've known people that have had phones in their bathrooms, but I've never known them to be like, "Oh, I'll have to call you back. I can't write the number down because I'm in the shower."
She takes the phone literally into the shower with her as she's bathing under. Yeah. Old phones were just indestructible at that point.
When I was growing up, we had a phone in the bathroom because my grandmother was very ill. And she needed to make sure that no matter where anybody was in the house, she could get in touch with somebody in case she fell or something happened. But I don't recall ever answering the phone in the shower. But, stuff happens. Anyway.
That's one place where I don't think you should have a phone.
It is strange, but if you have a family member that's
I get it. But, she's obviously doesn't have a family member that's ill. She's just...
Sometimes people have control issues, too, and that may have been a part of it as well. So we see this woman showering, and it just pulls back the shower curtain and bends down and answers her rotary phone.
Yeah.
How do we know it's a rotary phone? Because, we were cool back in the day with the rotary phone.
Yep. Last generation to know how to use one.
Probably. So, because, that's totally normal to answer the phone while you're in the shower.
I think we're a bit old now. I think we just aged ourselves. Come on, Granny, let's get a walkers.
See, that's sad because my aunt is quite a bit older than me and I have more gray hairs than she does, but that's bad genetics. She says, no, she can't take the number down or the address for the location she needs to go to because she's in the shower. I guess they don't make waterproof paper.
Yet. They do now, for this reason.
She'll have to call them back. So Linda gets a call from Brett, her boyfriend. It's his opening night, and she has to work.
And he's playing Othello.
No, he's not.
He says he is.
He's lying. The dude next to him was playing Othello.
No. She does mention he's a little young to be playing Othello.
You don't know theater, do you?
No.
Oh, too bad.
I was an art kid, not a theater kid.
Yeah. You didn't get the joke, did you? He's trying to make a bigger deal about the part that he's playing than what it is, and you didn't see the look on the face of the guy next to him?
No, I did, and basically he's playing soldier number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the main part, which was the guy next to him who's looking at him like, you wished.
Yeah.
Yeah. The guy playing Othello was the guy that was sitting next to him, primping his face up, because he's the lead, not her boyfriend.
Yeah.
This is just the first big break he's ever gotten.
Yeah.
That's why he wants her there.
And
to make him feel like a big, strong, important man.
Soldier number 1. I played that part.
Yeah.
And then, so she then goes, do you want the address to the house that he could join her later? And then she pulls it from the typewriter. I'm sort of confused on that whole sort of like scene. I'm like, did she typewrite the address?
Maybe she couldn't find a pen, so she just typed it up.
Maybe.
Since she takes phone calls in the shower.
Yeah, so next we see her get into her VW thing, which is a real car.
Mm-hmm.
And we notice that she's having engine issues, which from my understanding is not unusual for the VW thing.
It's vintage.
No, at that time that was brand new.
It is now.
It is now, yeah.
The issues aren't vintage. They happened back then, too.
Yeah, because it was like a lawnmower engine back there, which is totally foreshadowing. And then some rando comes up to her looking for...
A bar.
No, some address... But he looks like he killed somebody. I get it's how
an address to a party.
Yeah, but he looks like he killed somebody, and then he was like, "Come on, baby, come with me. Come on, let me take you to this place. You can have some fun." Yeah, and then obviously he gets rejected. She does some finagling, and the car just starts up, and we go to the house. She goes up to the door, and now we see no. I'm missing something.
It goes to another scene where you see Richard going upstairs to check on Christopher. Christopher's the little boy that she's going to babysit. Richard is the stepfather, and he is in the dark in his room. Joan comes and tells him to come out and asks him what he's doing. He says he is putting on ghost makeup. She says, in the dark? He says, I want you to take me trick-or-treating. She says, life is not about fun, you know. We are leaving, he says, for a party. She says, a business trip. She agrees to buy him a magic trick kit if he is good, and this seems to satisfy him. He says, Wizard of Siam trick.
He's really into like magic. That's sort of his thing.
Yeah. So she agrees to get it for him when she gets back. And then Linda shows up.
Yes.
And she seems very agitated by the fact that the house is very decorated in Halloween attire.
I have to admit, though, I know at this time this wasn't vintage, but I really like the vintage decorations.
Yeah. So the mother, Joan, and Linda have a very brief intro. Joan asks Linda to please feed the dog. The dog. And have Christopher in bed by 11 p.m. She points out where the trick-or-treater candy is. And, well, that's basically it. She goes upstairs to finish packing.
Next, we are at Western State Hospital, home of the insane.
Home of the insane.
That's such a great mascot. The nut jobs.
Come get your nutcrackers.
We see Malcolm playing against Bert at checkers. We find out Malcolm has been in the ward for 4 years. He asks the doctor...
They were playing checkers?
Checkers or chess? I'm not...
No, they were playing dominoes.
Somebody else was playing checkers at the time. Yeah, it was game time at the home of the insane, Western State.
Except for, one of them didn't want to play with somebody else. He wanted to play with his own game.
Yep. And then Malcolm asks the doctor when he'll be getting out, and the doctor says soon. But he was only humoring Malcolm because he says that he's totally bonkers to the nurse. We hear that Malcolm is planning to get out tonight on Halloween. Linda runs, and then we go back to Linda, who runs into Richard, and he offers her some brandy. He is being very pleasant and sort of creepy.
And he takes a really massive diamond ring that he has in his pocket, and he puts it on her finger, and he tells her, diamonds are her stone.
Yeah. And then he unzips Linda's blouse.
Well, she's wearing like a jumpsuit.
Yeah.
A short jumpsuit. Shorts. They're shorts, but they're a jumpsuit.
But he's trying to act like, oh, that was an accident. I didn't mean to unzip your blouse.
Yeah, he unzips it like almost completely.
Yeah.
The whole top almost completely. Like he was just, oops.
Whoops, my finger found the zip. Well, I'm here.
And him and his wife are dressed to go to a costume party. And they're both dressed in tuxedos and top hats. Well, she comes down to the bottom of the stairs and comes into the doorway as he's unzipping Linda's top. And she has a cane, and she hits the cane on the floor and gets their attention. So they end up leaving then.
Yeah, and we see that Christopher is at the top of the stairs, and Christopher and Richard sort of have this like weird stare-off type thing.
So Joan tells Linda to help herself to anything. She says, well, I haven't met your boy yet. She says, well, you'll find him or he'll find you. Joan and Richard leave. Well, there was something else that Linda had said to Joan. What was it? She gives Richard the ring back.
No, she just says that you'll find him or he'll find you. And that's it. And then they go out to their car and drive off.
And he goes upstairs to get his bag. Joan says, that's the only reason I married him. Linda said, oh yes, he's a real charmer.
So And so I think she was commenting on the ring. Like, he did. Money is not sort of an object for him.
Yeah. He likes to shower his women with gifts.
Yeah.
And he is very affectionate.
He sees something he likes, he goes after it type personality. So then they get into their BMW and drive off. Or their Mercedes, I'm sorry. Next, we see a head of cabbage on a child's favorite toy, a guillotine. The guillotine helps Christopher make a salad. It slices it in half. So he has half of a salad now.
Makes sense.
Yep. Linda starts looking for Christopher, calling his name, going upstairs. She finds his room, which is, he has like a Houdini poster out front on his door. And he's placing his head in the guillotine, and he lets the blade drop. He spits out blood. Linda rushes over to see if he's hurt. He goes, "You must be Linda." And
he says, "You're cute. Are you the babysitter?"
Yeah.
She says, You're not cute. That wasn't funny." She said, "Can you get out of that thing? You could have been hurt." He says, "Yeah, sure. I'm not stupid." Trick-or-treaters come, and she goes to the door to tend to them. Then a poof of smoke and a giggle. He apologizes and asks her name. She says, "Linda." They shake hands, and he has a buzzer device on his hand. And she gets irritated. The door buzzes with another trick-or-treater, and he takes this as a moment to run off.
Back at Western State, Go Nut Jobs, a man is foaming at the mouth as a nurse berates him for playing with himself, while another man throws stuff, and the other acts. Chaos is starting to break out. Malcolm is talking to Bert about him escaping, and then he starts hatching a plan with Bert, how Bert needs to distract the nurse come bedtime, and Bert kept saying, "I tried to escape, they knocked out my teeth." So that's his thing, I guess. Mm-hmm. Bert is supposed to snore very
he said
loudly.
Bert can help him by snoring loudly.
Yeah, and then he gives an example of snoring. Next, we see Linda upstairs.
No, it's downstairs in the living room den area. Mm-hmm. Linda finds a milk spill on the carpet. She goes to pick it up and realizes it's fake. Then Christopher jumps out at her.
With an old man mask.
She shakes him and says, "You straighten up or I'll put you to bed." He says, "Well, that's the best offer I've gotten all day." She says, You're impossible." He says, "How about incorrigible?" She says, "That too. Another spoiled brat. Why do I get them all?" He smiles and says, "Because we love you, Linda." That's like the best line of the whole movie.
Yeah, it really is.
Because of how he says it. He's just sitting there with like these glazed over eyes and a big smile on his face. And "because we love you, Linda." It's so cute.
Back at Western State, the top football team with the most ankle bites, Cleopatra and Mark Anthony, are playing under the sheets. The nurse comes in with medicine, and then she drags Cleopatra away from Mark Antony. And we have something about conquering Rome for the love of Cleopatra, blah, blah, blah. Bert is heavily snoring. The nurse comes over, and Malcolm pulls her down and de-wigs her in the process. As he undresses her, Christopher keeps playing gags on Linda. Linda tells the story of the boy who cried wolf as an ice cream truck plays in the background, because that's what it sounded like. As she gets done, she asks if he understood what she is saying. He confirms, and then he screams wolf.
Yeah, as she walks away, he says, "Wolf!"
Back at Western State, the golden standard of poor security guards, Malcolm dresses as a nurse walks out
as Nurse Reeves
to apply his lipstick. The guard asks for the nurse's ID. He hands it to him with a hard right hook to the chin. He goes down like a glass security guard, and then he gets into the nurse's car and wackily drives off.
Yep.
Back at the house, Linda wants to watch some TV, But the chair had other ideas, and we see Christopher pop up outside the window in a Fat Man mask. Yeah. Because during this whole process, he's constantly changing masks and outfits, and like at the beginning, he changed from he changed into a suit after the smoke mask when they first met, compared to what his sort of like this rocker outfit type thing he was trying to go for. Nurse Malcolm, quote unquote, is next Linda's boyfriend calls. They have a small chat about issues. More trick-or-treaters come and Linda hangs up on him. Then we have Nurse Malcolm driving to a payphone, which is weird to see nowadays, where he calls the house. He doesn't. Linda picks up. He doesn't say anything, and he hangs back up. She thinks it's Christopher. She runs upstairs, looks out the window to see his body floating in a pool. She runs out and saves him, performing CPR, crying, thinking she lost him. And he gets up after a while, says, "Thanks for the kiss, baby," and Linda loses it. Next, we see some unhappy trickers complaining about no one answering the door, and they should.
Something.
What did I miss?
She's so emotional about the prank that Christopher pulls on her that she goes into Joan's bedroom and puts on Joan's fancy nightgown, the same one that she was wearing when her husband was taken away to the nut house. She puts on her house shoes, the fancy cloppy ones, and some makeup to try and help herself feel better.
Because there's nothing like dressing up in somebody else's nightgown. That makes
fancy
me feel.
Silk ones, oh yeah.
Well, I know I like to do that. I know I like to go into other people's homes.
Watch their bratty kids.
Watch the bratty kids.
And then put their nightgowns on.
Yes.
And then their kids get distraught about it. And you'd be like, see, this is what happens when you're a brat. I wear your mommy's clothes. Now you listen to me.
Mind you, I'm a 6'2" guy that's like very hairy. So. Mental image there. And I'm not on the slim side either. So
I'm your mommy now. You listen to me.
No. I'm your mommy now. You listen to me.
So Linda hears gunfire and says, "Go and shoot yourself again, Christopher." Again, another no answer phone call. She goes into Christopher's room and makes sure the receiver is down. He makes it look like he stabbed himself, and then tells her to take off his mother's nightgown. She tells him, "Shut up." Still no answer on the line as she goes and checks it again. Christopher is downstairs cutting hard salami and cheese,
which looks delicious.
He accidentally cuts his finger. She freaks out and realizes it's fake. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, go figure.
Sneaky little bugger. The phone rings again. Then the doorbell chimes. She answers the phone and tells them to hold. Answers the door and throws candy at the trick-or-treaters. They say she is crazy when she slams the door.
You don't know the half of the kids.
When she gets back on the phone, Malcolm tells her he is coming home to take care of her, dear. Malcolm is later asked for money by an old man and gives him some. Then is
the old man's trying to hit on him.
Then is asked by a cop if the car he was driving is his, and he says, no.
No, I don't think it was. I think it was a guy dressed up as a cop. It wasn't a legit cop.
Right. But he's freaking out thinking it was a cop, so. Linda goes looking for Christopher, and she is thinking this is another prank. He is in his room and tries to scare her by being Dracula. He denies being on the phone. She says, "You even disguised your voice." Malcolm has a drunk man offering to take him out for a drinky poo.
Randy.
Because I guess if you're drunk A guy in a nurse's uniform is appealing.
Hey. Any scraps.
Joan calls to check on Christopher. Linda says, hello again, due to the multiple calls. Joan says again and asks if everything is okay. She says, no. Your son is a holy terror. He committed suicide 4 times, drowned me, tried to drown me, set off explosives, had me chase him all over the house. He played tricks on me, she says. He is an amateur magician, his mother explained. I don't want to be a magician's stooge, Linda says. And some screwball keeps calling. And is he a ventriloquist too, she says. He may be. Then you should consider the circus. And she hangs up on her. Joan then tells her husband, Christopher is being a perfect angel.
Yeah. Yep.
Sure he is. If that's a perfect angel, I'd hate to see what a demon looks like. Demon child.
Okay.
I guess it's all a matter of perspective.
Next, we see a robed masked figure wire the knocker, and then we hear the knocker go. When she goes outside to greet the trick or treater, no one's there. This happens 3 more times, and it's really annoying. The final knock, she walks out and screams trick or treat, and then the robed figure runs off. Next, we see Nurse Malcolm at a diner enjoying a cup of coffee, and he steals a knife. Or she steals a knife. Back at the house, Linda answers the door to some drunk trick-or-treaters. The phone goes off again. Again, no one answers. Linda screams. Then we see some drunk homeless guys. Malcolm demands one guy's clothes as he undresses a man.
Linda does go outside before the drunk trick-or-treaters and yells for Christopher to come inside at once.
Yeah. And then Malcolm demands the men to undress
one of them.
And I mean, Malcolm really dressed up as the nurse, including bra.
Yeah, he took everything.
He
He was trying to be realistic.
Yeah. He threatens the homeless men with a knife as they undress, and we are in a room with 2 women splicing films together, and one girl is complaining about not liking horror and will it ever stop. So they're debating, will horror ever stop because it's too gory?
Films are truly made in the editing room.
Yeah. Then we see some cheesy Frankenstein wannabe film. Then Linda calls the girls to come over. After she answers the door to some more trick-or-treaters, she goes into the kitchen, turns on the TV. She turns on a news interview with the nurse that got jumped. And as the interview continues, the inmates start acting up, and we see a man board a bus. So that's sort of like all over the place in that like one little scene.
Mm-hmm.
Then we see Linda. She hears a loud bang, and she grabs a flashlight and goes in to investigate, because that's what I always do when loud bangs happen. Yeah. As she is away, Malcolm enters the house quietly and investigates the house as Linda is in the pool area. She goes into a outbuilding. Is the best way to describe it. It's not like a guest house. Like it may have been at one point, but it's not now. And Christopher keeps screaming with her. He throws a live rat at her. She pleads with him to just stop. His answer is he is a cannibal. Then she makes a comment about him dressing up and going trick-or-treating and hoping he may get some poison candy. Or some razor blades. He doesn't like that comment. Then at the time, Christopher wonders if he should put
her in a zigzag box or saw her in half.
Yeah. Malcolm continues to explore the house and finds a train set, starts playing with it, while her 2 film editing friends knock and come into the house because...
one of them, not two. There's one person that comes over.
I thought there was two.
One.
Okay, one. Oh, and her friend is Andrea. Mm-hmm. It comes into the house because that's what you always do when the door is slightly ajar. And just make yourself at home. Pour yourself a drink. Sit down, watch your favorite TV show. Put your feet up. Take your pants off. That's what I always do when I break into people's houses. But also put on a nightie. Makes you feel right at home. Yep.
She walks through the house calling Linda's name.
Yeah.
Linda, it's Andrea. Where are you? I've got your tape.
She proceeds upstairs and goes into Christopher's room. She hears a noise and goes and investigates more because you always investigate random noises you don't know anything about. Fortunately, all the lights are on in the house. Then Andrea hears more noises and cue scream. As she enters the attic door, she tells Linda to stop playing a prank. She hears an answer and goes into the attic. The noise continues and Andrea goes after them in a playful way. Then she runs into Malcolm, who stabs her, then realizes it's not Joan and calls her stupid. Because, when you kill the wrong person...
They're the stupid ones.
They're the stupid ones, not you. Always happens that way. Then Christopher goes outside.
Christopher comes out of the shed.
Okay.
And Linda grabs him. He says, "Nice try, Linda. Now you're getting the hang of it." Linda goes in and pours some wine. The cat jumps at her and screeches.
Which is the only time we ever see the cat.
But at the beginning of the film, the mother mentions, "Hey, could you feed
the
the dog?"
Well, we just know that she had her mind in other places. It is simple to misunderstand a cat from a dog. Duh.
She sits down with her wine and a book, and the phone rings, and she is not nice when she answers it. But it's her boyfriend. Poor Brett, he gets the raw end of the deal. He advises her to call the police. She calls the cops. They say unless this caller actually shows up at the house, there is nothing they can do. They get thousands of these calls a night. They can't possibly post a cop at every home. Christopher plays a scary record. More trick-or-treaters. Linda goes up to check on him. He is lying in bed, pretending to be dead. She says, "What's the matter, dear?
You
have a sore throat? Well, get a good night's sleep." And tucks him in. When she leaves, Malcolm comes out from behind something and has a blade covered in blood. He goes downstairs and sees her and says, "I see you haven't changed. You moved my things around. I have a present for you. All the misery you have caused me."
And then at this time, Linda's trying to interrupt, but he won't let her. As he asks...
Yeah, she's trying to tell him, you got the wrong person.
As he asks if she hates him, he comes up and gropes her, lifting her up. She gets away. Malcolm chases after her. She runs all over the place. She tries to hide in the outbuilding and goes up into the loft. Malcolm comes after her, finds more of his stuff, and starts getting emotional. Linda makes a noise because the mouse previously that...
Well, there's probably just mice in general.
Yeah. Crawled on her. He goes up to investigate. She runs off again. He chases. She gets into her things.
Her thing, the car.
Yeah, she gets into her thing. There's two of them now. They've bred since the beginning of the movie. And she's having a hard time.
They're that ghetto and janky that they breed fast.
Yeah. Again, she's having a hard time starting it. Malcolm is tapping on the window. as he is finding his way in, because let's be honest, the thing wasn't the most secure of cars.
Yeah.
So the thing was basically it was a military vehicle originally, and it was, how do I put it, formed sheet metal, ribbed sheet metal, and it was interchangeable. So, and the side windows were snaps, and the front window you can actually collapse. Like, so if you wanted more air, you could just take down the front window. It's not the safest of cars.
No.
Funny thing, there was a place up here before it went out of business that had a thing, and I really, really wanted it. Like, the top speed of it is like 55 miles an hour, though. But the engine is pretty easy. Like I said, it's like a lawnmower engine.
Yeah.
And then
She goes into the house, opens a closet, because, you just randomly open a closet, right?
Yeah.
And finds Andrea. She attempts to call the cops. She goes up to Christopher's room. He says, "I dozed off. Is it still Halloween?" She said, "There is a killer in the house."
and she gives him the "what's up," and they start prepping the guillotine.
He says, "You mean the guy with the big knife?" She said, "One more trick." And they fix the guillotine to actually cut.
And then Christopher is in his executioner mask. Again, this kid has so many masks. And he holds as he holds the rope to the guillotine. And then Linda has a fake gun. And they bar the door and wait for Malcolm. Malcolm jingles the handle several times, but it won't budge. He stops. Linda wonders why he stopped, and we find out that there's another door behind them, which Malcolm uses, and Linda moves. Malcolm's head just falls right into place onto the guillotine and gets trapped. And Christopher lets go of the rope, and we see the blade come down and blood running out of Malcolm's mouth. Christopher apologizes to Linda, tells her he won't trick her anymore. And then Linda goes downstairs. They call the cops. She calls... Am I missing anything? Okay. She calls the cops. She calls... she calls them while...
She tells him it's all right. Come with me. I have to call the police.
She calls them. The cops pick up. She starts reporting. Then we see Christopher behind her with the knife. Then the film freezes on her, and we hear is a scream of surprised terror. And that's how the movie ends. Am I missing anything? All right. So, do you think Linda died at the end? They obviously did make a sequel to it. I felt like they were opening it up for a sequel on that one. I don't think I could handle him.
Mental illness tends to run in families.
And he's obviously like Malcolm's son.
Yeah.
But at no point were we referenced to that at all. I mean, we were just supposed to pick up because he looked very similar.
Yeah. And obviously, Malcolm had a connection with the house and the objects in the house, but not the boy.
Yeah. But we noticed that he was 4 years in the mental asylum. And the kid had to be what?
He was way older than 4.
Yeah, so it doesn't make any sense for him to not have a connection if that was his son.
Oh,
it was just sort of weird.
He was mentally ill, though.
But was he, or did she make him mentally ill by putting him in an insane asylum?
But if he was perfectly sane before he went in there, and he had connection with objects in the home, then he would still have... And her... Why would he not have a connection with his son?
Well, there's the question. I mean, ultimately, that's where there's parts of this movie that fail hard.
So.
Okay, so you want me to give mine or yours?
No, I went first last time.
All right. I give it a three. I give it a 3 out of 4. Although this is a classic '80s flick, great for a flashback to simpler times. The concept is interesting. The film is obviously simple to follow, and you know who the characters are from the start. And the introductions of the said characters. At first, this film is sort of a fun romp. Where this film falls flat is the pranks get old fast. The surprise Linda gets even older. And a lot of times I feel the pranks were to fill the majority of the time of the film. Or the majority of the film. Somehow the ending feels rushed. The thing I wish was more of Malcolm pure and simple. We had the most setup and a very little part. Also, I want to know why he was still in. I'm thinking Joan paid for his stay, and on that note, I want less Christopher. Overall, okay. Yearly romp from the '80s, nothing great. It's just okay, and I mostly love that it's '80s Halloween. It reminds me of my childhood, and the nostalgia that it follows. But the ending was disappointing too. Why even pick up the knife? And again, we don't know. I mean, obviously we know that it's the kid's dad, but there's no connection there whatsoever. So
There is mental illness.
okay, except for the mental.
The pranks play along the line of the need and desire to hurt people.
Okay, I mean, I guess. I get that, but it's just.
That's deeply rooted in somebody that the mother just encouraged it. She didn't, because I guess she figured, oh, he's little, he'll grow out of it.
Well, I'm just looking at it from a surface perspective, non-psychological perspective, where, I mean, I'm assuming, what my theory is that Malcolm was never insane. It's just she wanted to get rid of him.
Well, but that was never explained.
That wasn't, but I mean, going back to what I know of insane asylums, that wasn't uncommon for vice versa, where women were committed for the men to be able to either marry somebody else that they were
to move on.
Yeah, and since we see that Malcolm is taken away, and then the next thing we see is the David Carradine character is now taken up as the husband role.
Yeah,
that we can assume that was the main reason why she got Malcolm committed. So that's my only, but
we could also assume that he was so out there and his idea of reality was so askewed that the only way she could move on with life was for him to be committed, because the only other out would be to kill him.
And again, this is why I wanted more Malcolm in this movie.
Right.
Because...
Or it could have simply been explained better.
Yeah.
By Joan's character in the very beginning. I give it a 4 out of 5. Some things were incomplete, like we just explained. Dog. There was no dog there. There was a cat.
Dogs, cats are the same thing, right?
That irritates me. It's as simple as saying, can you feed the cat? Instead of the dog.
Again, it was just poor scripting.
Yeah. Malcolm seemed clueless about the kid, and he was only in the hospital for 4 years. Christopher was a minimum of 8 years old, probably closer to 10. He did not know about him. He didn't seem to know about him.
Yeah. That's the one, like, why even have that interaction? That just...
Like we said, he had an obvious connection to the house, an obvious connection to Joan, an obvious connection to objects in the house. Mm-hmm. He went into Christopher's room, he looked at him, he didn't touch him. He seemed oblivious, like he was a stranger. Mm-hmm. I mean, if that was your child and you hadn't seen them for 4 years... You would want to touch them. You would want to be close to them. You would.
No, I'm not saying.
Be emotional about it, But like I said, and that's why I said, he probably did truly have mental illness. There was a disconnect there. In Linda's case, if she were working for an agency and not being able to say no to a job, that doesn't seem right to me. She was saying that the agency said she couldn't say no to the babysitting job or she would be fired.
I think it's just an excuse not to go see Brett's thing. She doesn't want to. She wants Brett to be there, but she doesn't want to be there for Brett type. Like, maybe because she said, and I think it's a part of jealousy, that she said that I'm still looking for work as an actress. I have to take this job. Basically, I have to have the money, so that's part of it.
Maybe.
But he had his first break in the theater. He's doing what probably she wants to do, and she's jealous of it. So she has to go to this house just to make ends meet while he's off living the fantasy of being soldier number one.
But she's worked for this agency, obviously, for an extended period of time because she's complained about getting all these bratty kids. So maybe this agency is having a hard time finding reliable, dependable sitters, and so they've given her an ultimatum. I don't know. If this kid is so bad, how did they ever get a sitter? There's that side of it too.
Maybe the sitting company didn't know it was this bad.
Maybe there's multiple companies
That they go through. Yeah.
This movie implies something that really irritates me. It implies that if you have money, you can do whatever you want and no one cares.
Yeah. Yeah.
The whole premise of this movie implies that if you have money, you can do what you want.
Yeah.
And that irritates me. The basic storyline I felt was okay. The character development was good. You know what's going on and you know who everyone is.
I also felt like there was no reason to have the splicing girls in there. Like, that just felt like added. Like, I felt that was spliced in.
Yeah. Somebody else to kill.
Just of another body count. Mm-hmm. And again, the body counts were really lame in this. Like, I wanted more. Like, we really didn't even see any kills, I don't think.
No.
I can't remember, because I would have wrote them down. Like, this is kill number 1, this is kill number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think they always just panned away. But I think that was during the weird time where you're not... There were laws where, you know, in horror,
Yeah,
you couldn't
in
show...
In the 80s, it had to be implied kills, not showed.
Well, I mean, that was up to, like, mid... There was a lot of laws repealed about mid-80s. And that's when we started getting to, like, Freddy and the slasher flick. But this was pre-slasher flick. Mm-hmm. So I think maybe they didn't want to go down that road.
It was more of a sensitive time period then.
No, there was just certain laws that... I mean, like, there was comic book laws weren't repealed till the 80s, I think. A horror comic, you know, Tales from the Crypt type stuff. They were later on repealed, but they were put in place and they were on the books for a long time. So a lot of horror has been, especially like early years of horror, has been implied horror. Like, everybody thinks that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the bloodiest film ever, where the original one, you never see anybody get killed.
No.
It's all implied.
Yep. The mind fills in a lot of it.
But in this case, I didn't need the kills. I felt like the kills were, again, added into sort of the film, just to take up time. But, I mean, just... The reason why I gave my score is just I got really tired of the pranks and the screaming, and I mean there has to be a point where you're just like, okay, just you're not scaring me anymore, because she's playing into that fear that he wants. He's feeding off that crap, that annoyancy. Mm-hmm. And like after the first time that she answers the door to the knock and no one was there, I mean, they had a peephole. She could have looked out the peephole. Yeah,
and how the string was strung, she was walking into it. And I'm like, would you stop?
Yeah. Yeah.
Little things about it annoyed me, but overall it was okay.
I think where my patience would have ended hypothetically, if would have been the drowning thing. You think, that was the time where they finally, I didn't care about seeing eye to eye, that she would just be stopped with the whole, like, this kid is done. I don't care what happens to him. And she tries, but, she still plays into his pranks, such as the thumb and the retractable knife.
Like, oh, will you cut your thumb off? Oh, that's too bad. Let me really cut it off.
Yeah. Let me see that knife!
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, would you recommend it, I guess, is the question. Like I said, I would recommend it once a year, but any more than that, you can throw it in your rotation if you have a Halloween rotation. I think it's a good revisit, just for nostalgic purposes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not horrible, but I've seen worse.
Well, we've seen worse, yeah. I don't know, Halloween Night was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Alright. So, anything else?
We hope you guys have a very haunting Halloween.
Remember to stay safe out there.
Yep.
Don't do anything stupid, I guess.
No.
I mean, just enjoy the holiday.
Yep.
But do respectively and responsibly.
Right.
Remember, don't get candy from strangers, because they have the best candy.
Isn't that what Halloween's all about?
I know. Watch out for the razor blades and candy apples.
Oh my God. We'll scare you later.
Bye.